Our club's always been a forum for visionaries, public figures, and decision makers to command attention to the issues of our time and inform the most relevant, compelling, and challenging conversations. Here we offer first-person access to dynamic political, business, and public personality.
The Canadian Club is one of the most important podiums anywhere in the world that a Canadian can speak to, tell Canadians what it is that they think, develop those thoughts. And so I want to thank you for that very, very much.
Please join me in thanking our esteemed panelists today.
Through our programs and events, including our youth and young leaders programs, our diversity partnerships, our joint events, and our media and social media opportunities, we offer you access to dynamic political, social, and business figures from abroad and right here at home.
The platform from which the eloquence of Canada has flowed all of that time, whether it be business, education, politics, sports, arts and culture. If someone wants to say something to Canadians about this country and about the future of this country, this is the venue you choose.
Good afternoon, members and guests. My name is Tanya Van Biesen, President-elect of Canadian Club Toronto and your host for today. Bienvenue à toutes et à tous. A special welcome to those who have joined us online at canadianclub.org. Our strong and highly interactive lineup of events would not be possible without the generous support of our sponsors, and today's event is being sponsored by EY and Scotiabank. Thank you both for your support of today's conversation. Our club is grateful to the Canadian Bankers Association, our season sponsor, and to Air Canada, our official airline sponsor. We are also proud to partner with Canada's Forest Trust Corporation in a significant environmental initiative fostering sustainable forestry practices and connecting Canadians more closely with nature. Today, we are not only compensating for our event's carbon footprint, but also nurturing a green legacy for future generations. Thank you, CFT, for planting a forest and for preserving it in our honour. Now, we regularly invite young Canadians to join our events, and today we welcome students from Glendon College at York University and from Toronto Metropolitan University. Members and guests, we welcome your questions today for our special guest, and we always like them to be pithy and hard. So please know that there are question cards on your table for those in the room. Please don't hesitate to complete these cards, and we will bring them up here to have them addressed. For those joining remotely, please hit the Submit a Question button on the right side of your screen, and the question will be picked up by our team. And with that, I'm pleased to invite Linda Williams, Managing Partner, Clients, Markets and Growth, EY Canada, to introduce our speaker. Linda.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour à tous. J'ai l'honneur aujourd'hui de vous présenter Pierre Karl Péladeau. Should I continue in French? I have the honor to introduce Pierre Karl Péladeau, President and CEO of Quebecor, a businessman in Quebec, former politician. Mr. Péladeau leads Quebecor, a media and telecommunications giant and significant Quebec flagship. For more than 70 years, Quebecor has been a mainstay in the economic, technological, and cultural fabric of Quebec. Monsieur Péladeau took over from his father in 1999 after contributing to its expansion in Europe and Canada. Under his leadership, Quebecor acquired Groupe Vidéotron, TVA, and Osprey Media, as well as many other assets. Quebecor spearheaded the development of competition in mobile telephony service in Quebec. Vidéotron launched its wireless telephony service in 2006, followed by its own network in 2010. becoming the first new generation carrier in Quebec and taking on the big three incumbents. In April 2023, Videotron acquired Freedom Mobile and became the fourth major national wireless carrier in Canada. Videotron remains the cornerstone of Quebec's business model, of Quebecor's business model, based on convergence of content and of distribution channels. A businessman who is actively engaged in the community, Monsieur Péladeau supports many organizations in the vital fields of culture, of health, in the environment, and entrepreneurship. Monsieur Péladeau serves also as president of the Foundation Chopin Péladeau, a private family foundation named after his parents, Raymond Chopin and Pierre Péladeau. A firm believer in the critical importance of accelerating the Montreal taxi industry's green shift to electric, he acquired Texelco in 2019, an organization with a mission to optimize, automate, and electrify the taxi industry, one ride, one vehicle, and one community at a time. As a proud Montrealer and sports fan, he purchased the Montreal Alouettes in March 2023, and what a thrill this weekend will be. For those who do not follow football, will be delighted by a historic face-off this weekend in Hamilton to a sold-out crowd. Historic as for the first time, the Montreal Alouettes and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will square off in the CFL championship game, the fight for the Grey Cup. As you can tell, I am from Montreal. Really looking forward to it. It's not often that I cheer on my teams in this city, but go Als. Finally, Monsieur Péladeau received the Quebec National Assembly's Medal of Honor in 2005, was named a Chevalier de l'Ordre de la Pléiade in 2013, and was appointed as an officer of the Ordre National du Québec in 2022. As a Montrealer, I'm privileged to welcome and introduce Monsieur Péladeau to the Canadian Club of Toronto, and very proud that Monsieur Péladeau has the opportunity to discuss the industry, the competition, and the benefits of an increasingly aggressive market, of course fueled by Quebecor's emergence as a major national competitor. Please turn your attention to the video.
From a Montreal neighborhood weekly founded by Pierre Péladeau, Quebecor quickly grew into a major international corporation. When his son Pierre Karl became CEO in 1999, he successfully steered the business in a new direction and made Quebecor a major player in the new digital economy in Canada. After acquiring the cable company Videotron and the TVA television network in 2000, Quebecor was able to converge content and technology to better inform, entertain, inspire, and connect people. Every day, millions of people watch our television channels and tune into our news and entertainment content. Follow their favorite athletes and performers on our media outlets. Read our newspapers, magazines, and books. Download our digital content and listen to our digital radio station. Advertise in our bus shelters and watch hit films produced at our studios. Driven by its entrepreneurial spirit and deep philanthropic commitment, Quebecor also supports over 400 charitable organizations, working to build a stronger and more innovative economy, a richer and more diverse culture, and a healthier and more sustainable society. Videotron launched a mobile service in 2006 and its own mobile network in 2010 to become Quebec's first new generation carrier, creating true competition and bringing down prices by up to 40%. The company invested billions to create distinctive offerings and services and to build out a reliable, powerful, robust telecommunications network. In 2018, Videotron launched Fizz, Canada's first all-digital telecom brand. In the course of more than 15 years of growth in Quebec's wireless market, Videotron has demonstrated its cutting-edge expertise and capacity to innovate. And by investing in 5G spectrum, Videotron took a major step towards realizing its ambition of fostering fair and healthy competition across Canada. In 2023, Freedom Mobile and Videotron have joined forces and are now the strong fourth national wireless carrier Canadians have been waiting for. Our companies share common values and a commitment to the highest level of customer service. Together, we will keep disrupting the market by providing consumers with high-quality, affordable products and services. With more than 7,500 employees and more than 3.5 million mobile customers across Canada, we are determined to write a new chapter in Canadian telecom history.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, hi. First of all, I'd like to thank Canadian Club for inviting me, talking about the victory of the Alouettes last Saturday. Oh, I guess that I have the wrong topic. Global leader in telecom competition. Oh, okay, that's different. You know, I'm happy also to talk about this. So, usually I'm a little bit humble, but I will tell you today that I think I should not be humble. And I'll tell you why. I came from an environment which is very competitive. As the video was saying, you know, my father started the business in 1964. He founded Le Journal de Montréal, which was a daily, even not published on Saturday and Sunday. And bit by bit, copies after copies, in a very competitive environment where you will find many other newspapers. He succeeded. He succeeded in Montreal, and he launched the same paper in Quebec City, and he became the largest publisher in Quebec. So he built a large company. You know, it was completely integrated from pulp and paper to printing, magazine, newspapers, distribution. And finally, well, you know, in 1999, I succeeded him as the CEO of Quebecor. It was a great opportunity for me. And I think that I had the opportunity to inherit his mindset and what he was looking for in life. So then the great opportunity arrived in 2000. There was a little bit of a it was the internet bubble. So there was a lot of excitation. And Videotron came to be bought by Rogers. For many reasons, we had the opportunity to move forward and acquire the company. And then, you know, we found a completely different environment. Say, from a competitive environment, we arrived in an industry where, you know, there were two sets of companies. One was led by great entrepreneurs. Ted Rogers, probably, you know, the greatest entrepreneur in Canada. G.R. Shaw. And even, you know, Videotron was owned by the Chagnon family. André Chagnon founded. They have something in common. They were protected by regulations for enjoying a monopoly. I'm not saying that you're not building a lot of things when you own a monopoly, but it's certainly, you know, a different environment when you need to compete against a very industry which is enlarged. And on the other side of the equation, you had the telephone company. Well, first of all, I'm sorry. I would like to thank, you know, my colleagues from Freedom here, and I'm seeing a lot of people also from Quebecor. You filled the room. Maybe we were afraid that we're not going to have enough people. I'd like to say hello also remotely for the one who's watching us on television. So the telecom companies, this is, it was run by, as Ted Rogers used this expression, it was run by suits. Yeah. And the only thing that they were able to run is monopolies. We've been seeing companies like Bell, trying to do other things. They bought Trans-Canada Pipeline, Dawn Development, what else? Montreal Trust. They bought Teleglobe. And each time that they were coming in a competitive environment, unfortunately, they fail. So this gave us the opportunity to move over and to introduce. And this, why I'm saying that we should consider that a leading factor of introducing competition in the telecom industry. So we took over in 2001. The first thing we did, which was very important for us, it was to change the culture of the company. As the monopoly, Videotron was, you didn't have any customers. You had a subscriber. And, it's not a semantic question. It is important because people had in mind that the subscriber will not have the capacity to change. You want cable? Well, there's only one cable provider. But that was not true anymore. Things were changing. And then the company need also to change. So we took care of our customers. And bit by bit, we've been also introducing new customers. It was the new services. It was the time of internet access. So then we moved forward and we became the largest internet access provider. We moved to wireline telephony very quickly also, and then became on our territories at least, at the same level than Bell. So it was a very great accomplishment. And finally, we've been talking about this a little bit in the video, it was an opportunity for us because we thought with the internet access that it will then move on the mobile internet access, and then therefore wireless will be the future. You will remember probably in 2006 or 2007, or maybe a little bit before, no, I think it was before 2004, Fido, which was unfortunately under protection, became underbid. TELUS was on one side. It was finally, bought by Rogers. We were not able to afford buying Fido. We were at that time, a little bit like Ted Rogers. He used to like leverage, but then, we also had leverage, and in fact, it was 7 times. So would it be possible for us to move forward quickly? No, but we learned very quickly that future will belong to wireless, and then therefore we need to move in this direction. And then we signed MVNO with Rogers, and we introduced wireless to our products that we were servicing to our customers in Quebec. It was a great success. We fight, to make sure that as a telecom company, that we want to be a facility-based enterprise. So we moved and went to Ottawa saying, if you want to have competition, if you want to have better prices, if you want to have innovation, you need to make sure that you will have competition. And the only way to be able to have competition is to create the proper condition to have it. At the beginning, we had the industry minister was Maxime Bernier. Well, he left. I think it was a good thing for us. And he was replaced by the late Jim Prentice, that understood very quickly and easily to make sure that, in this, even, we didn't talk about the big 3 at that time, but the big 3 was there. And then to find out if we want to have something that's going to take place, that the change will take place in the industry, then you need to have proper conditions. And this is, what Jim Prentice understood, and this is what he decided that we will be able to get. So, very important thing, we had set aside spectrum I know that, from an incumbent standpoint, people would say, well, this is subsidizing, company. No, it's not subsidizing anything. In fact, we've been able to bring billions of dollars in the federal treasury because this is the industry minister that managed this. But then, new entrants, Spectrum Reserve, that was the key. And then there were other conditions regarding roaming, because you need to roam. You're not going to be able to build a network in 2 days, and 2 weeks, and 2 months. So then, therefore, you need to run on other people's network, which is, something that is largely used in the industry. And finally, we will get the infrastructure sharing, which is also there for the same reason. So I think that, we were able to introduce a new product that will change the future of our industry, where we were expecting that there will be decline in cable distribution. And that was certainly for us, a chance of a lifetime. So I could spend hours and hours to talk to you about, the different things that the incumbent were doing for us, not be able to succeed. Competition is tough, but competition needs to be fair. And sometimes, unfortunately, we're finding out it's not always the case. I remember very well, and I can talk to you about this for hours again. Piracy is a problem in our industry. You want to make sure that, people will pay for the service they get. But you know what? Our competitor in Quebec was having satellites and dishes where you will get them for free, almost, and you will not be forced to take a subscription. So guess what happened? Pirates was all over the place. And then, therefore, people or broadcasters that, distribute their programs through distribution network, like the satellite and the cable, were losing significant amount of money. So it took 10 years, because obviously, we were against those kind of attitudes. And 10 years later, we finally had $140 million for damages we suffered because of this Bell attitude. It's really unfortunate. But we still, unfortunately, live in that kind of environment. So, after all those years, I will come back to competition. And I'd like to raise, this thing by Michael Ford. Domestic rivalry, like any rivalry, creates pressures on companies to innovate and improve. Local rivals push each other to lower costs, improve quality, and service. This is, what happened for us. And I would say on top of this that a critical byproduct of competition is certainly innovation, one of the most, if not the most important maker of productivity and economic growth. So we can talk about the telecom industry. We mentioned earlier that was a sizable thing. I would like to emphasize on one thing. I remember former Chancellor Angela Merkel saying, German productivity has declined because of broadband connection speed, too unstable, too slow. So telecommunication is really in the middle of our capacity to build a strong economy. And then, therefore, we should not refrain anything that will stop competition to improve, to make sure that we will push for competition to improve the marketplace. So we know that the wireless is a significant industry. 94% of Canadian adults, have a phone, a mobile phone. And so then the wireless sector is the most promising growth driver for the industry here and elsewhere. Over the past 15 years, wireless access has become kind of a staple of modern life. and sometimes it's not always easy, especially with kids. We would like to see them doing other things than on being on their phone, but it is what it is, and certainly, responsibility for parents to make sure that, there's other things than phone. But it's certainly, around our life today of an important matter. So Canadians have become more mobile than ever, and they're hungry like anyone else, with speed and data. So the average consumption of mobile data has more than doubled since 2020 in Canada. And the price of wireless service is a well-known irritant for Canadians. Although many consumers advocate that prices remain some of the steepest in the world, there is light at the end of the tunnel. The lowest possible price of a single gigabyte of data in Canada now compares well to other countries. Recent data from cable.co.uk shows that the average price of a single gigabyte of mobile have fallen by 60% since 2019. It says a 60% decrease, but we can do better if we have the right conditions. And I guess that there should not be any problems when we look at the financial landscape of the big three. Not bad. So wireless market shares paint a similar picture. There are currently near 36 million wireless users in Canada, according to the CRTC. The big three claims more than 80% of these customers, and Quebecor now claims almost 10%, thanks to the addition of Freedom Mobile to our roster of mobile brands. This was a comfortable situation for the big three. Why would they lower their prices, improve their product and services, and innovate when only a handful of competitors can offer the same service than they do? Each of them gets a share of the market without efforts. Their shareholders are happy. The board is happy. Senior leaders are happy. And what about customers? No, they're not so happy. So to break, this oligopolistic cartel, whatever, call it, we need to eat up competition in the telecom sector. And a new competitor should check those boxes. Willingness to disrupt the market, innovate, and get out of their comfort zone. The capacity to do so. In other words, a proven track record and rock-solid financial backing. We've been working very hard to decrease our leverage year after year after year, and we've been still in a very favorable position. We just recently, last week, released our quarterly results, and despite the check I made, in fact, it's the second check that I made to Rogers. I remember I made a $200 million check for which he bought the Sky Dome at that time when we acquired Videotron in 2000. So, despite writing a check of over $2 billion, we've been able, to reduce our debt ratio leverage, and we look forward to continuing this direction, generating significant cash flow. And at last, but certainly not least, a regulatory environment which is favorable to competition. In 2007, the Canadian government and regulatory authorities decided that competition was a priority in the country and put in place conditions designed to it. I mentioned earlier what were those conditions. The ability to buy mobile spectrum, set aside mandatory roaming and infrastructure sharing. But, and this is quite interesting, the trend continued. More recently, the MVNO framework, which enables regional mobile carriers like Videotron to access the network of other carriers in areas where you don't have network infrastructure yet. Just last week, the CRTC also directed the country legacy Telecom to provide competitors with workable access at a reasonable rates to their fiber network in Ontario and in Quebec within 6 months in an effort to improve affordability and provide more internet options like the cable industry was providing for many, many years through what we call the TPIAs. So it's for us also an opportunity, like also the other TPIAs that still are alive and kicking in this industry, despite the fact that Bell bought a lot of them. In fact, even the CRTC and the industry minister said that competition had been reduced by seeing the incumbents buying TPIAs. In fact, they bought 5 or 6 throughout, the last 2 years. Those gains were key to lowering rates, the barriers to entry in this new market. And as I said earlier, Videotron first entered the wireless market in 2006 and became the first telecom provider in Quebec to step up and compete against the big three. You will remember they were a kind of different things that happened. We had, at that time, it was called WIND. WIND was financed by foreign money, which was not allowed regarding the Canadian regulation. We found out it was changed. That was a little bit of a mess for many, many, many years until Shaw decided, to buy those assets and rebrand them under Freedom Mobile. We know what happened. For whatever reason, the Shaw family decided it was time for them to sell the company. And, at the end of the day, we know what was the result. Basically, Rogers buying Shaw and creating a very large company now in Canada. So, over the course of 17 years, we spent nearly $4 billion to build a robust, powerful network, create thousands of jobs, claim 23% market share from the incumbents, become one of the top wireless carrier in our historical footprint, Quebec, and made wireless prices drop by up than 40% in Quebec, more sharply than anywhere else in Canada. Our brand gained traction very fast because we adopted a very aggressive pricing strategy. We've our customers with great service, which is still our trademark today. You want to be served like, and this is, the lesson that we are offering to our employees. Make sure that you will serve your customers the way that you would like to be served. And the message was strong, and it is very well established in our company. And finally, innovate and offer never-before-seen products. As an example, and we're very proud of that. In 2018, we launched our Fizz brand and became the only telecom in Canada with 100% digital brand for young people and tech-savvy customers. And we create Fizz in less than a year. How a cable company were able to introduce, new services, new innovative products, where you've been seeing the telecom companies being there, enjoying monopoly for decades and decades. This is what competition brings. To give more Canadian access to Videotron and Freedom networks, we favor a gradual and disciplined expansion and an approach based on profitability. That doesn't mean that we're not able to reduce prices, to offer better service. In fact, it goes parallel to each other. For over $800 million, we acquired wireless spectrum in 2021, which covered many regions, obviously historically for our Quebec network base, but also in Ontario, in Manitoba, in Alberta, and in British Columbia. And with the new MVNO framework, we have everything it takes to start expanding our networks. Our mobile network now covers more than 70% of Canada's population. Over the next few months, we will be able to reach millions of additional Canadians. We're also participating right now on the ongoing 3,800 megahertz auction, but as you probably understand, that we cannot talk about this publicly. The result will be certainly known in the few days or in a few weeks when the auction will be over. But certainly, again, it shows how the telecom industry works for Canadians, both ways, obviously for customers, but also for Canada, the state, the federal treasury, on appelle ça le trésor, and it brings hundreds of millions, billions of dollars for Canadian finance. Now, this very tangible track record was recognized, and it's fun, when you read those kind of things, by the competition tribunal when the proceeding was taking place for the Rogers acquisition. And they're saying, Videotron is an experienced market disruptor that has achieved substantial success in Quebec. Videotron entry into those markets will likely ensure that competition and innovation remains robust. Fast forward to 2023, Videotron is looking to bring innovation and vitality to the telecom market and wants to ensure better pricing and customer service for Canadians across the country. Thanks to impressive track record in Quebec, as I mentioned to you, and to a new regulatory environment favorable to competition, Videotron was able to acquire Freedom Mobile despite the big three best effort to block or delay the transaction. And it was not funny, I can tell you that. There were, and still is, abuse of legal proceedings in front of the federal court. Sneaky disinformation campaigns. TELUS had a project which was presented at the board. It was called Project Fox. And we learned about this because that was evidence in front of the tribunal. And I was considered, and maybe they're right, I was considered a danger. A danger by introducing more competition. Yeah, that tells you about, the mindset of that kind of company. And then obviously, they went with intensive lobbying efforts. Those are few examples of the headwinds that we had to face when we sought to expand outside Quebec. The big three opposition, our delaying tactics, continue to this day. We learned about this as of 2 weeks ago, or even last week. So, last week's decision on fiber access to the CRTC. Bell was quick to announce cut in its capital expenditures and a reduction in high-speed, fierce internet expansion, citing a decision of the CRTC that discouraged network investment. I can tell you something. If they were to stop expanding, it's not because they would like to propose Canadian new technologies. No, they're doing it because they're forced to do it. Their network is not there. They've been losing customers one after the other when they had their copper infrastructure, and they were forced to move in this direction. And if they caught capital expenditures, you know what? They're shooting them in the foot. It's not going to be good for their business, and they will continue to lose customers. But they came and say publicly that they will stop investment. You can't believe this. It's not believable. When Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, ICED as we call it, gave Videotron authorization to acquire Freedom in April, it did so knowing that Videotron had the will, the capacity, and the right environment to replicate the success that we had in Quebec. This strategic decision has since proven farsighted as we've been successfully fulfilling most of the promises that we made to Canadians, some of them ahead of schedule. Lower prices, better network, access to 5G, and there are many others. Offering our customers the best product, the best services at the best price have been part of the DNA of Videotron for years, and decades. So the first thing we did after the Freedom acquisition with the transaction was to ensure this DNA was transposed into a new, bigger, better, and faster than ever for Freedom. What's that? It's a growing 5G network reaching more than 12 million people, fully nationwide wireless plans, integrated seamless handover of call between carriers, never been seen before offers like the first true North American plan that we launched over the summer. The new Freedom is a far cry from the brand Canadians used to know. It continues to offer innovative products and services to its customers, relying on a network that keeps growing and improving. We will continue to be committed to our community by offering services that reach them wherever they are, as Freedom did with the TTC. That's a funny thing, eh? Yeah. We were there for many, many, many years, and when it was bought by Rogers, finally Bell and Telus was looking to be there. Well, you know, guys, you're 4 years late. But then, you know, let's go for a fight. Let's go for a public, you know. And at the end of the day, they're certainly not, you know, servicing well their customers. But we were there, and we were offering the service. Since its acquisition from Videotron, Freedom Mobile have been driving changes, and competitors are following suit. We have introduced several new highly competitive offers since April, all of which have been systematically matched by our competitors, driving wireless prices down. At the end of the day, this is what is important for Canadians to enjoy a more favorable environment. You don't believe me? Well, here further proof from StatCan. Even as consumer prices are going up across the board, wireless prices are falling. Statistic Canada Consumer Price Index is showing that wireless costs have actually fallen more in the last 2 quarters than they did in the previous 2 years. What changed? Videotron acquisition of Freedom in April. Simple as that. And these lower prices translate in more money in the wallet of Canadian families. For example, a family of 4 with 4 mobile plans can expect yearly savings of over $1,000 with the current drop in prices alone. This is real, unsubsidized money that family can use to buy groceries or pay their mortgage. Certainly a relief in the current inflation environment. And we're not stopping here. Just last week, Freedom lowered its 5G access threshold by almost 25%. Any Freedom customers with a plan of $39 and up now gets the access to the latest wireless technology at no additional cost. Nearly 200,000 Freedom customers will soon receive a message saying they now have access to 5G. The CRTC itself recognized that the MVNO framework had opened the door for Quebecor to introduce new, lower price plans. On that note, I would like to acknowledge the courage and the leadership of the Minister of Industry, François-Philippe Champagne, and the CRTC Chair, Vicky Etrides, whose decision in the past few months have already led to a more dynamic market and greater competition. We've been waiting for this for the last 10, 15 years, and it finally arrived. We look forward to piggyback in this environment and deliver the goods, because the regulatory environment is indeed allowing us to get there where we are today, but work remains to be done, and just not in wireless. The decision announced last week by the CRTC, the chair, regarding mandatory access to Bell and TELUS fiber network is a major milestone for up-and-coming carriers like Freedom. It will allow us to offer our customer bundled products and services, which will increase the competition even more and drive down the prices on wireline telecom services. We've been moving forward in this direction in our home-based market in Quebec City, in Quebec province, and we look forward to make sure that this will also happen in the bundle environment, which is of importance, but there's not only a bundle environment where you can succeed, a standalone and internet access also is certainly a formula that can be offered to our customers. So, however, it is worth nothing that Bell current offers are still far below the rates approved by the CRTC on an interim basis. And this is further evidence for Canada to truly become a global leader in telecom competition. The authority must remain and maintain, accentuate, and even create initiatives aimed at increasing competition. Here are a few examples of what could be done next. Tackling Canadian roaming rates, which remain among the highest in the world. There is no logical, no rational explanation why wholesale data roaming should be five times more expensive in Canada than it is in the European Union. Second thing, ensuring that aggregate fiber access among carriers remain at reasonable prices that allow competition in wireline services, taking into account retail pricing. Third, giving more flexibility to the CRTC Broadband Fund to increase network resilience and competition in areas already served, in adding the connecting remote region. In short, the pieces of the puzzle are lying on the table in front of us. We just have to fit them together. Need further proof to the concrete positive effect that a favorable regulatory environment can have in the market? Well, thanks to the MVNO framework. Our fully digital, disruptive wireless brand Fizz will make its first foray in the West in the coming weeks with a beta launch in Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary. This is another step forward for competition. Fizz is an entirely different animal when it comes to wireless carriers. It keeps a tight-knit relationship with its community of members, not customers, members, and treat them with perks and gifts. It offers unmatched innovative features like data rollover and data gifting among its community. This being a beta launch, people who join will be able to take advantage of deeply discounted plans. This will be a great opportunity for the people of British Columbia and Alberta to experience Fizz for the first time. Get ready for a gradual rollout in Fizz in 2024 across Canada. In conclusion, when the focus is on customers, on Canadians, the choice we need to make in order to serve the public interest should be clear to everyone, even for the big three. In just 7 months, we have accomplished great things for Canadians. Now, just imagine what the picture will look like in fewer years. Thank you for your time. Merci beaucoup de votre accueil. And I'm very sorry for the Argonauts last Saturday.
Thank you. Merci, merci, merci beaucoup. So we do have a couple of questions. I don't think we have a ton of time. I'll just, one question, Colleen is telling me. I will say we are proud here at the Canadian Club to have had the CEOs of Rogers, Bell, and now you. You were smart to hold out to be third because you get the last word.
But it's a never-ending story.
It's a never-ending story. Everyone had their own perspective on competition, but everyone was very clear that competition is critical, so that's good.
Thanks.
You've given us a bit of a preview, but if you, which we know you will be, when you come back next year and speak with us, what should we expect to hear from you? Where will Quebecor be? What can you give us a preview into the future?
Well, it's like, when we have conference calls, analysts are always asking that kind of questions. And the answer is always the same. There are spies in the room. There are spies on the line. So we're not going to talk about, our next marketing strategies. This is for sure one thing, that we will continue to innovate because this is the DNA of our company. And, I'm proud to work, with my new colleagues of Freedom. And what I feel, and, I've been obviously enjoying, meeting with them. In fact, we're just not far from here, across the street on Bremner and York. It's like the Alouettes, they want to win. And the team is great. So we know that, with Videotron, as we're creating a culture which is the same, and winners. And we will continue to be there.
Thank you.
Bon, merci, Monsieur Péladeau. Je veux vous remercier beaucoup pour un discours très intéressant et inspirant. I think we've learned a lot about which a mobile plan we should be on. So for those of you who are not on it, I think we now know. Your leadership in the telecom space, led by Videotron and its subsidiaries, is getting noticed. It is clearly changing the competitive environment in this country for the better. And your vision for the telecom industry is a game changer here in this country and really does set the stage for Canada on the global stage. On vous souhaite une bonne continuation et beaucoup de réussite dans toutes vos entreprises. Before we close, I invite our audience to join us for some tremendous upcoming events. Next week on November 23rd, we will be hosting a very timely panel on navigating our caregiver dilemma. And on December 4th, we welcome Guy Cormier, President and CEO of Groupe Desjardins. On December 15th, we will also welcome the Governor of the Bank of Canada, Mr. Tiff Macklem. So I'm sure you will be happy to join us for all of these events. Please visit our website for more information about tickets. And then I'd also like to conclude by thanking our AV supplier, VVC Live, for facilitating today's event, and of course our sponsors, EY and Scotiabank. Thank you. We appreciate all of you spending time with us today. Merci, au revoir.